Well, hello there. Welcome to the Obi-Thorn Alliance. I'm Jacob.
I'm Luke.
And in today's video, we are discussing and giving our thoughts and theories on episode 3 of Hawkeye, Echo. If you can, like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. Comment down below, are you liking where the direction of Hawkeye is going or not really? Share the video, hit the notification bell. And I guess, Luke, are you liking where episode 3 is taking the characters with introducing a new character called Echo, or?
I think so. I think it's been the most interesting of the episodes so far. A new person's been added into the Marvel Universe that I didn't know of, and you mentioned earlier that they're getting a spin-off show.
Yeah, the characters.
So we got a bit of a backstory on them, which is quite cool. It's a character with disabilities. It's a cool concept, and I think it built to a really exciting episode that had the most amount of action out of any other episodes. Had a lot of fun times and a bit of comedy. It's just, this show to me has became a really fun show, and that's what I expected to be, and I'm really enjoying it. What did you think about the episode?
I thought it was really action-packed, had some development with how it left off with introducing a character, and then we got to see backstory, and then a particular hand, what we'll get to with theories at the end, and then we get to see the backstory, and then it was really cool to see how motives, it's a very clever way to give motives, and kind of this show is very much dealing with Endgame. I think none of the other shows did in a particular way, but this show is kind of dealing with it emotionally and psychologically. What I think I like the most between the other shows.
So if we were to, we'll give it a little bit of a summary without going into play-by-play details of what happened. So this episode really is about, we get this backstory of this character that's, she's hard of hearing and has a prosthetic leg.
Yeah.
And we see her kind of grow up, and her father is telling her, don't worry about other people, you've got abilities they don't, you need to watch and learn, don't let your hearing hold you back, define you. And through that she comes kind of good at fighting and good at other things, and we get the motive to why she wants the Ronin dead, because the Ronin had taken out her father.
Yeah.
So it gave a really cool backstory that was quite short and sharp. We didn't need a whole movie about it. We didn't even need a whole episode about it. It was over and done with early enough, and we understand it. I can see why she hates the Ronin. It doesn't take a genius to work it out. And then from there, we're left with where last episode finished, with Kate Bishop and Clint in a predicament. And kind of, how do they get out of this predicament? What do they do?
Basically, they're having their conversations. For some reason, Echo thinks Kate is Ronin, even though she wouldn't be old enough. So that didn't really make sense. But we get this conversation between Clint and Echo that it was someone of acquaintance of Black Widow, it was someone else, and basically she doesn't believe them. And then we get this cool scene basically when he escapes, and Kate's like, oh, how did you do that? And then the action pursues from there basically.
Yeah, and they have their run through the city, they get away, they got the car, and then we see from the trailer the kind of epic car chase and her going through different arrows that Hawkeye has, and some are useless, some are useful, some are funny. It is a good scene. I have a few issues with it in terms of, I always hated movies when they drive backwards in reverse. That is so hard to do. I just can never buy that someone can whiz through traffic in reverse, but movies, they do what they want. But it was funny, we got to see some cool scenes, and then ultimately we left with them getting out of the situation and kind of just retreating back to Kate Bishop's auntie's house that they're staying in and hiding, and that's almost the episode in a nutshell, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, basically ending with the I guess the cliffhanger is that someone's holding a gun to Clint, and it's the person marrying the mother.
So, moving on from a summary, some talking points. Something you mentioned in the last video that you thought would come up was about Clint and his hearing and the hearing aid. So, what did we discover about this hearing aid? How did it play a role in this episode?
Basically, it was kind of divided between, was it worth, between technology and kind of using the senses. So basically, it gets destroyed, and then we get to see these kind of, back and forth between Clint saying something and then he can't hear Kate, and then kind of back and forth, and they basically repeating, but it worked.
So we see that. We also get to see Echo kind of take a soft spot to him because she notices he's got a hearing aid, and then she starts talking in Auslan or sign language, and we kind of find out that he doesn't know much sign language.
No.
He can communicate a little bit, but not much, and then she thinks that he relies on his hearing aid too much, which we kind of theorise that that's going to come at a pivotal point in the series, that he'll have to rely on his other senses besides hearing at some point. And I wasn't aware of Hawkeye being deaf, but maybe that's something in the comic books. Maybe that's why he's called Hawkeye. Maybe that's why he's good with his sight and arrows. Maybe that's something that they didn't touch on yet, but it's been something that was known in the comic book. I don't know. It would make sense. Maybe that's why he's good with arrows, because he was deaf, but that hasn't been brought up yet. So we see that. Do you really buy that the hearing aid got stomped on, but they were able to get it fixed by some doctor in Chinatown? I feel like a doctor couldn't fix a hearing aid.
No.
I feel like it would I also think that shouldn't he have access to being able to get more, or have spare ones, or could afford to? I don't know what that scene added, but it was okay. So that with the hearing aid. What are some talking points or pivotal points for you in the episode?
I guess what we talked about off camera is that shouldn't Kate have kind of worked out that Clint is Ronin? Why would Ronin be pursuing the person that has the Ronin suit? I don't understand why she's he's telling this fantasy story. I know we know because we have seen the show, but I don't know. I find it very hard not to believe that, because you can see it's going to be the twist that will kind of break their relationship, and then they'll come back to defeat whoever the villain is. I got a sinking suspicion of who it could be, but do you buy it?
The more I think about it, I can kind of see why, but then also I don't believe it. You think by this point you can understand, you think she'd have worked it out. Maybe the first 2 episodes not so much, because you go, well, maybe he also wants to kill the Ronin, maybe because they're a bad person, or maybe you could go, well, why would he take up the persona of the Ronin when he could have taken out mafia bosses as Hawkeye? I guess it's not a simple put together, but I think she should have worked it out by now, though. From the outside, it probably isn't that simple, but you think being close and hanging around him, it should have came apparent to her.
Yeah.
Or she should be asking more questions as to, does he know who the Ronin is? Why is he so interested?
Yeah.
I'm not fully buying that. And I agree that's going to be some kind of pivotal twist, but I don't know if it's a bad thing. Will Kate Bishop care? Because at the end of the day, he's trying to save her. It'd be a bit different if he, abandoned her and she's like, well, you were the Ronin, you've got me into this predicament. She got herself into the predicament. One thing I thought was interesting that I haven't really seen in other Marvel movies is they actually caused harm to people like usually they don't Batman never kills, and then in the Marvel movies they tend to I know injure someone but not take him out. But in this they shot someone in the shoulder, shot someone in the hand.
Yeah.
They shot with an arrow that exploded a car. They possibly just killed 10 people in that one scene.
Do you like that direction?
I don't mind it. To me, I think
they're defending themselves.
I think it's realistic. I think we too often in superhero movies and shows just expect heroes to never kill, but sometimes bad people need to die in order for a hero to survive, and that's fine. And yeah, I just hadn't seen something like that before, especially when he turned he kind of around the back shot someone's hand up against a wall. I thought, oh, that's cool. They're legitimately shooting arrows and trying to hit people. When he hit someone in the shoulder, yeah.
Did you like the fight scene between Hawkeye and Echo?
Yeah, it was alright. I don't really buy that Clint is that good at combat. It's something we haven't really been shown. He kind of appeared in the Avengers. Was it Thor? Did we first see him in a Thor movie, the Thor movie? Because he shot Thor.
Yeah.
And then he became an Avenger, and we realized he was good with arrows. We don't really. Well, I don't know how he became Hawkeye. Is he a trained spy that happened to be really good with archery, and that's why he became a Hawkeye? I don't understand his backstory, so whether I believe that he's that good at combat, I don't know. I guess we have to assume that he is. Or good enough that they would make him an Avenger. Do you know anything about his backstory?
Basically, he's a trained agent, agent, and he's really good at arrow combat.
Yeah, it's strange. I know. I guess it's a superhero that someone once thought up, and now they've tried to find a way to link it to other heroes, and that's just how the Marvel universe works. What do you think about some of the arrows?
Yeah, some were cool, some weren't. It's like when Kate even said, "Oh, the plunger. Oh, that's not that useful. Oh, I see the usefulness for it now."
Yeah, it was funny play on words. And did you like the pin arrow that expanded the other arrow?
Yeah.
That's a cool in theory, but no way he was able to shoot that arrow. No way you could judge it, but it's still cool. Not possible, but it's funny. This massive giant arrow dropping on them. But I guess couldn't he have just fired? Oh, because if he fired the big arrow and he hit the car would have then became large. Oh, I like it. I think it was a nice touch. But yeah, some of them were strange, the one that was purple slush and slime. I don't know what that kind of adds, but Hawkeye's just one of those ones. How many arrows can one person keep in their quill?
Yeah.
It never seems to end. But in theory, I'm starting to like him a bit more throughout the show.
And this episode, I feel like, was definitely the best out of the two, but I feel like the main problem, I have no issues with this episode. I don't know what your thoughts are, Luke, but I feel like it's kind of the main problem the Marvel shows is that they only have a certain amount of episodes. It wouldn't be a problem if they had 13 or 12 or more episodes, is that they don't get to the point with the threat level. It's more they take their time, they set up something, and then by episode 4 and 5, they start what I think is kind of, sometimes they need to set it up by the beginning.
Yeah, it would be nice to have more episodes, but where do you draw the line? I think 6 is okay, because it's proven with Loki and Falcon the Winter Soldier and even WandaVision that number of the 6 episode mark, it allows you to, it's like seeing 2 movies. So you think the shows that so far became shows opposed to movies kind of needed a bit more explanation.
Yeah.
Where maybe that's because there was more character development, or there was a bit more, or sometimes maybe because it wouldn't be good as a movie. You look at Falcon the Winter Soldier, you make that a movie. The main part is not the villain, really. It's about the handing over of the mantle.
Yeah.
So you make that a movie, you can't fit all the drama of the handing over of the mantle in a movie. So then the movie then has to focus on the fight, and like the Flag Smashers weren't that important a villain, so it needed a show because as a movie, it actually wouldn't have been entertaining. But as a show, you can flesh out the characters, and I think the same with this. If we made this an 2-hour movie, so what? Kate Bishop finds the suit, like he comes after her because he thinks someone's pretending to be Ronin, and I just don't think it could be a movie. I think it would be so quick. We wouldn't, because the important message behind this is her taking over as Hawkeye. And as a movie, I don't think you could do that.
Mm.
And then if you push it to 13 episodes, then maybe it becomes boring.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, like more episodes, I'm happy to have more episodes, but I feel like you run the risk of it becoming boring.
Do you have the same issues I do, or what's your issues? With the show in general, the episode.
Oh no, I like the episode.
Episode's great.
I do think that they have got this kind of formula of the first 3 episodes or even 4.
Take their time.
Yeah, you try to they want to build that suspense of who's the villain, who's the villain.
What's going on?
Yeah, which is what they did with Loki. It wasn't until the last episode.
It works for Loki though.
Yeah, so I think it is a formula they like to do. I think the same with WandaVision. It took a while for us to realise that Wanda was actually really the villain.
Yeah,
there was a villain inside that as well, the witch, but ultimately Wanda was the villain.
Yeah.
But they wanted to build that suspense. I think Falcon the Winter Soldier is the only one so far where it wasn't really hidden. We knew the Flag Smashers were the villains. We still don't really understand why or what they were hoping to achieve.
Yeah, I don't know.
We kind of know why they're angry, but we don't know what they were hoping to achieve through their plans.
Mm.
But that one, I guess, was not a show about hiding who the villain was. I think that was a matter of who was going to become the new Captain America. And I'm sure through the comics, people would have already known that. But if you didn't, you could have been thinking, is it going to be Bucky? Is it going to be Falcon? Like could have went either way.
Mm.
So I think that's the formula that works, because if you reveal the villain episode 1...
Or episode 2.
Well, I guess they would have to change the format, but instead of this suspense, it would then need to focus on them fighting. And could you have 4 episodes of
the villain getting away every time?
Yeah, so I think they leave it to that one climatic fight and then a resolution at the end of the episode.
Mm.
They know what they're doing. So far, there hasn't been a bad Disney Marvel show. So
what about What If?
Yeah, but that's a bit different. I agree. I have issues with that, but that comes into the realm of animation. Like it doesn't impact the real life action ones, which tie in with the movies. What If is its own separate thing completely. So, but out of the ones that have had real actors in it that tie into the Marvel universe, they've all been good. Unlike some of the previous Marvel ones that were on Netflix, like your Jessica Jones, which I haven't seen, but there's probably there's a reason why they're probably not still making them, or they've moved on to this new formula. So
yeah.
Where the new ones they brought out that have been specific to Disney Plus have been excellent.
Where do you feel like episode 4 could go? Surely we'll see Natasha's sister at some point.
Yeah, I feel like she's coming into it. Maybe she might be like an assistant to Kingpin. Again, I don't know much about Kingpin, but from the theories you've told me and what I've read, it seems the most likely. Does Kingpin have anything to do with Spider-Man?
Well, he was the villain Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, I would assume.
Yeah, I think, because I feel like that's my only knowledge of Kingpin is through playing the Spider-Man games. So yeah, I feel like that makes the most sense, and it's probably not a bad villain because it's not someone of supernatural powers. It's more of a gangster, and this is more of a local level crime kind of feel. This show. I do kind of wonder why Clint is still hanging around. I feel like he probably should go home for Christmas with his family, because is he hoping to completely wipe out the threats just to help Kate Bishop, because I feel like he could just leave her and be like, you work it out.
Yeah, that does come up in every episode. Oh, when are you coming home? It's like they keep bringing it up so his family can be in the episode.
Well, he doesn't really need to be there. Like, they've got the suit now? Or did the mafia people take the suit off them in the last episode?
Yeah.
But does he really need the suit? If someone else out there has the suit, they just become a target of the like the enemies that Ronan made, and it's like, well, that's their own fault. Like, if they want to become enemies, like, eventually someone will wipe them out and then reclaim the suit. And I don't know. I feel like he probably doesn't need to be involved anymore. Like, he's done his bit, but he feels obligated.
So you actually feel like kind of what I said in the episode 1 and 2 video, you kind of agree it's more the Kate Bishop show, but it's titled Hawkeye?
Yeah, well, it needs to be the Kate Bishop show because she's going to be the future Hawkeye.
Yes.
But he doesn't really have to be there. Like, he didn't have to get involved at all, to be honest. But I felt that when they got the suit back, him going and handing in the suit and saying, I'll leave Kate Bishop alone, was kind of pointless. Kate Bishop should have just left town. Like, she's good at combat. She knows what she's doing. Like, maybe she should just move somewhere else and taken up a new identity as whatever superhero name she wants to give herself. But, you know, like, we wouldn't have a show, would we?
No. So I guess the theories about why Kingpin could be the villain is that we do see that Echo, when he's doing the combat, and that's how she trains, is that she gets introduced to her uncle, and then you see the hand. They purposely don't show who it is, and then the hand matches Kingpin from Daredevil. So I don't know if they're going to do a Quicksilver and be like, oh, we're leading you on a goose chase. Hopefully they don't do that, but I'm certain they're clever enough to do right.
I guess they have no reason not to add Kingpin. It's not like some super crazy villain that they're like, oh, we're saving it. He's like nothing compared to like a Thanos or something we've already dealt with. So yeah, I guess they have no reason not to introduce him. Unless like Kingpin is somehow like the character is like owned by a different studio and they can't use him, so they can imply it's Kingpin but never say the name. Like,
no. Well, apparently in the comics, Kingpin is actually the uncle to Echo in the comics. So.
Yeah, well, that ticks all the boxes. I think we've nailed what's going to happen, whether we find out next episode or not. I'm still kind of intrigued how Kate Bishop's mother's fiance, how he ties into it. I think that's going to be some kind of major twist. I don't know if that's going to be a next episode twist, but there's got to be something. There's something suspicious about this guy. Or maybe the reverse. Maybe he's not suspicious. Maybe he's actually a good guy.
Who knows?
But he is going to be some part involved in the future of this show.
So your excitement level for episode 4, where would you say?
Oh, very excited. This show's tracking quite nicely. I think it's just kind of fun compared to the other shows. It's not as serious, and that's what I'm liking about it.
I think the big comparison I would come up with is Loki was kind of Avengers Infinity War at the time for TV shows comparison. Like, Loki was the big event that we had that was like, wow, this is like world breaking. And then Hawkeye is like Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
I think that's a good comparison to make.
No, I think so too.
Because sometimes you don't always need big developing plot lines sometimes. And I think the Christmas thing really works for the show. I think it really makes you in the mood for Christmas. So
I wish they had more of a Christmas theme to it. I thought the previews made out that it was, but really the only kind of linking to Christmas is the constant, are you going to be home, Dad? Are you going to be home, Dad?
Yeah.
And I guess in the end you'll probably make it home for Christmas, but I was kind of hoping there was going to be a bit more Christmas involvement in it, but maybe there is to come.
Well, thank you for helping, Luke. Hope you are enjoying the show, and look forward to seeing episode 4. Catch us in that video. Let the force be with you. Bye-bye.